excited for. As you guys know, if you've been to any of our events, you know what we're about. We're about pulling back the curtain and really taking a deep dive into how politics and policy are really the practical side, how it really happens. In all of its forms. And one of the things that we've really been focused on and exploring is that nexus between culture and politics. Because change really comes in a lot of different ways. And it doesn't always have to come at the ballot box. It doesn't always have to come in the halls of Congress or in state legislatures. There are a lot of different ways to bring about change. A lot of different ways that issues of social justice and social change manifest themselves. Art, music, culture is certainly one of them. And so we're very excited tonight to have a conversation and a little bit more that looks at some of that change and songs of social justice. And what better way to have that conversation than with a group of people who sort of bridge a lot of different, who sort of come together from a lot of different backgrounds. The people that we're going to be hearing from tonight are academics, they're musicians, they're political leaders, and history buffs, and they are going to, I think, have a really, really fun conversation looking at how music has impacted social justice and social change in our country. In a minute, we'll have them introduced, but I want to say that we really hope that you're engaged after they're done playing the songs and having their part of the conversation. We'll take questions, and when the time comes, we'll let you know, and you can come up here and ask your question from this microphone, and they'll be happy to take them. So we want you to be engaged, we want you to ask questions, we want you to follow along on all the social media channels and to take part in the conversation both here in the room and online. And for those of you who may be watching via the live stream on Facebook Live, please feel free to join in the conversation as well. So enjoy yourselves tonight. I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And with that, I'm going to introduce Danny Levy, who is a freshman in the college, who will do the formal introduction of our panel tonight. So, Danny.
Good afternoon, everyone. So the main podcast we have tonight is the Road to Now podcast. It's a series of conversations with pioneering individuals in today's world. Their goal is to trace the interactions and intersections and divergences of personal and historical narratives to better understand the importance of history in shaping our modern world, and to explain the ways that common origins spark exceptional turns in the road. The two moderators of today's discussion is Bob Crawford and Dr. Benjamin Sawyer. Bob Crawford is the founding member and a bassist in the Grammy-nominated folk rock band the Avett Brothers, and an executive member. And an executive member of Press On, a child cancer research fund. He joined after his daughter Hallie was diagnosed with a brain tumor back in 2011. And Dr. Benjamin Sawyer teaches in the Department of History at Middle Tennessee State University, and is a former Fulbright scholar in Russia. He focuses mainly on the history of economic systems with a particular emphasis on the history of capitalism, communism in the 20th century, and the Soviet Union. And of course, the person going to be discussing with these moderators is the former governor of Maryland, Martin O'Malley. He's had a long history in public service, being on the City Council of Baltimore in 1991 to 1999, a mayor of Baltimore from 1999 to 2007, and the 61st governor of Maryland from 2007 to 2015. And he currently serves as one of the fellows at GU Politics. We're looking forward to a really great conversation today and some wonderful music. So I'm going to turn it over to them now.
Your land, this land is my land, from California to New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled I followed in the footsteps of the golden sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me, our voice was calling. This land was made for you and me. Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway. Nobody living can ever make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. Everybody, this land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. As I was walking by the shadow of the steeple, by the relief office, I saw my people, their children hungry, and I was wondering, is this land made for you and me? This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me. Now I know that many of you are Catholic and accustomed to not singing along with others, but I'd like you to suspend disbelief for a second and sing along. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters, this land was made for you and me.
Well, this is how we start our podcast always. I'll let Ben put down the bass. We
Jay
say,
asking me to put down the bass, but
funny thing is Ben and I are both bass players.
we are.
And in our lives, we were both bass players for Seth Avon at different times.
Yes, we were.
I'm Bob Crawford,
I'm Ben Sawyer.
and this is The Road to Now live from the Institute of Politics and Public Policy. Public
Service.
Do that again.
Georgetown University. Thank you for having us,
Wait, let's do that again. I'm Bob Crawford,
guys. And I'm Ben Sawyer,
and this is The Road to Now
live from Georgetown University's Institute for Politics and Public
Service.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thanks for having us, guys.
We're so excited to be here with Governor Martin O'Malley.
Hey, thank you guys. And if I were here teaching a class with credit, I would give all of you extra credit for being here. Instead, I salute you. Thanks for coming.
So this is a show about songs of social justice
Right.
and how they've influenced and inspired Governor O'Malley and kind of how they fit into our political landscape and our cultural landscape. So this first song, This Land Is Your Land, was written by Woody Guthrie, and it was an answer. It was an angry answer to Irving Berlin's God Bless America. And the melody, it's interesting about this song because the melody was borrowed from the Carter family song Little Darling Pal of Mine, which was borrowed from a Baptist hymn called Oh My Loving Brother. So this song has had this melody, which is, we all know this song. I mean, every one of us have grown up knowing that melody for This Land Is Your Land. But really think in the American mind, in the American conscious, that melody has been with us for well over 100 years.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and the great thing about the song, the interesting thing about the song, like so many things in American history, there's a deeper story to it than what most people know. The song was recorded commercially, and a lot of the controversial verses, including some of the ones that Governor O'Malley just sang,
Those are
were
my favorite.
excluded from that. And tell them the lyrics, Governor.
I love the two verses I love the best in this are the one about as I went walking in the shadow of the steeple by the relief office, I saw my people. their children hungry, and they were wondering, is this land made for you and me? The cool thing I find about Woody Guthrie, and especially in this election year, I find that his stuff really speaks. Guys, it's like ties, you know, as you get older, if you just hold them long enough, they will come back around. So Woody Guthrie's moment has come back around in this election. And a lot of his songs ask questions. In fact, we're going to do another one later. But it was always a questioning thing, and I think that's what's so cool about Woody Guthrie. None less than Bruce Springsteen called that last song perhaps the greatest American song ever written. And there is a version of Springsteen, hell, there's a version of everybody doing it if you Google it on YouTube. And the other one is the No Trespassing verse.
Recite that, please.
Well, you know, I might have butchered it, but it's to the tune of nobody, as I went, you know what, maybe we didn't do that verse, but it's about, he says he's walking down the road and he sees a sign that on one side of it says no trespassing, and on the other side of the sign, it said nothing.
He says, when I went walking, I saw a sign that said private property, but on the other side, it didn't say nothing, which is awesome, because it means he just walked on past it.
And he said that side was made for you and me.
Yeah, and what I love about Guthrie is, to put him in its historical context, he's an Okie. I mean, he flees the Dust Bowl, which is this catastrophic environmental disaster, and he went out searching for work, and he's a refugee in his own country. And what I love about Guthrie is that, you know, if anybody has an opportunity or a reason to give up on hope, it's the Okies. They're fled, they leave their hometown, they're discriminated against where they go. So he sees that discrimination. It's in his stories, but he maintains an optimism that I think is brilliant and hard to muster sometimes.
There were so many songs Woody Guthrie wanted to do, especially this year. And one of them we didn't do. You have this guitar on, and we're not going to do it now. We're absolutely not going to do this song now. It's a song called All You Fascists Bound to Lose. And were we to do it, it would go like this. I'm going to tell you fascists, you might be surprised. People in this world are getting organized. You're bound to lose, you fascists bound to lose. All you fascists bound to lose. No, we're talking to you. All you fascists bound to lose. You're bound to lose, you fascists bound to lose. But we're not going to do that song today.
You know, something I realized about you, especially this past week, really kind of watching a lot of videos with you on YouTube and really kind of going over your campaign, your 2016 campaign. You are as comfortable, if not more, you're as comfortable
More.
doing this, being a musician. You know, Governor O'Malley isn't one of these, like there are other politicians who they bring out their instrument when they're running for office and they play Mary Had a Little Lamb or something on it, and they say, oh yeah, I'm a well-rounded human being, I play music, I have many varied interests. This is Governor O'Malley. He's a musician. You began playing music when you were in high school?
Yeah, I was 17. I went to Gonzaga College High School, here at Jesuit High School in Washington, D.C. And at the age of 17, there were 7 Irish bars and only 3 full-time Irish bands. So we hit the supply and demand curve, right? And I fell into a band with a group of guys who were all 10 years older than me. And as they got older, their girlfriends, or rather their wives, didn't think the band was as cool as they did when they were their girlfriends. So they all fell out of music. And then I was solo, and that's what I did through college and through law school, and I've always had some iteration of a band. And some of the guys I'm playing with now in the current version, 7-piece band, O'Malley's March, I've been playing with for 25 years, and I've always enjoyed it. It's left brain, right brain, gotta have balance in the world, right?
It's an amazing way for a politician to engage an audience. I mean, it's really what people say about politicians is they say, well, they're not human enough, or I can't relate to them. And when a man picks up a guitar and can get a room full of people singing a song or laughing or crying through music, that's just an amazing testament to the man's soul. So I give you full credit for blending both.
Hey, thank you. So I tried. When I got home to Baltimore, a gentleman at the train station said, Mayor, which is what people call me at home. Mayor, you should have played the guitar more.
And I was going to give him credit because I don't know if you saw the Alfred Smith Foundation. It's not always easy to translate your skills from politics into getting in front of people. I don't know.
So the next song that we have for you is called Minstrel Boy, and this is what struck me about this song is this speaks to your Irish American heritage.
Yeah, sure. You want me to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, talk about it a little bit, then play.
I grew up in a home where we heard Irish music in my house in Bethesda, and then we moved out to Rockville. But that wasn't something that we just heard around St. Patrick's Day all year round. When I would come home from school, walk home from school, my mom often had those records on, and I'd hear, stories about Roddy McCorley and Brennan on the Moor and the Rising of the Moon and the Minstrel Boy. And they all, it sparked in me a curiosity when I was in high school. Because of the music, I started reading a lot of Irish history and anything I could get my hands on. And I suppose that one of what I think is so open, if you take the time to listen to Irish music, is that, and universal, and Catholic in the small C sense of that word, is that people the globe over, all around the world, have gone through, many still are, going through periods of oppression and periods where the dignity of every individual is being crushed, where the common good has been kicked to the curb by some ruling authority, whether it's ruled by king or ruled by money or whatever it might be. And what I found in Irish music, although there is an Irish language, and it's still alive and kicking in some parts of Ireland, despite the best efforts of many to stamp it out, is that a lot of these songs, while they're hundreds of years old, were written in English. So it's accessible in a way to us as Americans. And this next song is a song that was transported with so many Irish immigrants that came here in the 1800s. It was sung on both sides of the Civil War, and it was a song that reverberated on both sides of the Atlantic, written about people that fought in the Irish Rebellion in 1798 and Emmet's Rebellion in 1803. It is my most favorite Irish song. And if any of you came here expecting to hear a broad representative mix of social justice, I want to disclaim this next set by saying that Bob told me, pick the songs that really speak to you. So join me in my introspection, will you? This is a song called The Minstrel Boy. Like all great songs, only has 2 verses. It's about the dignity of the human spirit and the proof of what our mortal frailty can achieve. The minstrel boy to the war has gone. In the ranks of death you will find him. His father's sword he is girded on, and his wild harp flung behind him. And the song said, warrior bard, all the world betrays thee once sore. At least thy right shall guard, one faithful heart shall praise thee. The minstrel fell, but the foeman's chain could not bring that proud soul under. And the harp he loved, it never spoke again, for he tore its chords asunder. And he said, no chain shall sully thee, thou soul of love and bravery. Your songs were made for the pure and free. You shall never stand in slavery. a minstrel boy to the war has gone.
Excellent. I'd like to ask you a bit more about your heritage. You said that in your household you would play these songs and they were part of your culture. When did your family come to the United States from Ireland, and what drove them here? I mean, oftentimes, most migrations are not at people's choice.
Right, and these weren't at their choice. I mean, I don't know. I never met my great grandparents, but I know that my dad's side of the family, he was poor guy, 100% Irish, and we all have our crosses to bear in this world. My dad was 100% Irish. His people came from the west of Ireland, and they would have left not at the peak of the sort of 1845 famine, but there were repercussions and ripples of famines. And so this would have been in about the late 1870s they came here. I found his immigration, his application to be a United States citizen going through the archives here in D.C. back when I was in college, I guess. And it was very cool, you know, going through. And then, in those days, something called microfiche. Countless pages on a little scroll, and it came up. His name was the same as mine. Martin O'Malley, application for U.S. citizenship. Yeah, it was very cool. My mom's family, while she had one strain that went like way back through the Revolution and I think to the Mayflower, most of her people were German Catholics that came here during Bismarck's pogroms when they were closing down, you know, Catholic schools and that sort of stuff. And they settled in Fort Wayne, Indiana. My dad's family settled in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and they met here in D.C., splicing together a copy for a Young Democrats newsletter. And so that's my family's history.
Yeah, and then for those of you who don't know, the great potato famine in Ireland of the mid-19th century, it was caused by a blight that was brought over in fertilizer, and it spread. And in fact, it was such a devastating event for the island of Ireland that the population today is still lower than it was before the potato famine in the 19th century. That gives you an idea of how many people died and left.
Yeah, it's hard to assess exactly how many people debated, but roughly on an island of 8 million people, 1.5 left, and another 1.5 died. Many of them in ditches with their mouths stained green from trying to eat grass as their last meal in a country whose warehouses were filled with grain, producing every other crop. But at the time, it was when the word overpopulation came into the English lexicon. Many in the British government determined that the Irish and the island itself was overpopulated by Irish people. And we should let market forces work their way, and nature has done us a favor by getting rid of the Irish. They were overpopulated in their own country.
And I think this points something out that's worth noting, which is, you know, racism and discrimination is something that has thrived for a long time. And in its modern manifestation, it seems strange to think this way, but for a long time, the Irish were treated as subhuman in many ways. And in my classes, I use this as a teachable moment, which is, in America now, to be white is kind of a general group, right? But at one time, the differences were teased out. In many ways, they are now. And so looking at this moment helps people realize kind of the absurdity of discrimination based on origins, national origins, and race.
In my study group, we looked at immigration, and we looked back 100 years at the Thomas Nast cartoons where they drew pictures of the Irish looking like apes and monkeys, and talked about their weird language and their weird foreign religion that was controlling them and subversive. There was even a cartoon in there about how America needed to build a wall. We needed to protect ourselves from all of these unclean people coming to our shores, like the Irish. So, anyway, where are we going here, guys?
I think we should flip the script a little bit and go to deportees.
Do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. This is another Woody Guthrie song. This is, we had planned this. This is, not really. Yeah,
it's called Calling an Audible. I just called it an audible.
This is another song by Woody Guthrie. This was about a true event that happened, I believe in 1958. I mean, there was beginning of 1942, so many migrant workers came to our country from Mexico. I mean, it was because of the shortage of manpower and the like. The person that was put in charge of this at the U.S. Labor Department under FDR described it as legalized slavery. Anyway, it carried on in one form or another, and still does today. The people that come here from Mexico and then go back. And I mean, the migration and the work that they undertake in order to put food on our tables. But I do want to point out that in my brief shining moment on a presidential debate stage, there was no moment I enjoyed more, especially given the lies and the falsehoods that Donald Trump pumps out there about how we're being invaded by droves of Mexicans and all of this disparaging things he says about them, is that last year, net immigration from Mexico was actually zero. In other words, as many people left as came here from Mexico. But this is a story of the Los Gatos Disaster. It was a plane that went down in 1958. So these human beings were being deported back to Mexico in a DC-9, and the plane went down, and there were no survivors. And Woody Guthrie, listening to this, heard the guy on the radio say that they were just deportees. In other words, they had no names. And so, anyway, this is that song. It has a chorus you're all welcome to sing along with. It goes, so goodbye to my one, and goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't need a name when you fly the big aeroplane. All they will call you will be deportees. The crops are all in and the peaches are rotting. The oranges are piled in their cradle-shaped dumps. They're flying us back to the Mexican border. It'll take all our money to way back again. So goodbye to my one and goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't need a name when you fly the big aeroplane. All they will call you will be deportees. My father's own father, he waded that river. They took all the money he made in his life. My brothers and sisters, come work the fruit trees. They'll ride that old truck till they take down and die. Some of us are illegal, some of us are not wanted. Our work contract's out and we have to move on. But it's 600 miles to the Mexican border. Still they chase us like outlaws, like rustlers, like thieves. So goodbye to my one and goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't need a name when you fly the big aeroplane. All they will call you will be deportees. The sky plane caught fire Los Gatos Canyon, a fireball of lightning that shook all our trees. Who are these dear friends all scattered like dry leaves? The radio said they were just deportees. Is this the best way we can grow our big orchards? Is this the best way we can grow our good crops? To be scattered like leaves all across your topsoil and be known by no names except deportees. Everybody. So goodbye to my one, and goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, y Susi Maria. You only name when you fly the big aeroplane. All they will call you will be deportees. So goodbye to my one, and goodbye, Rosalita. Adios, mis amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have a name when you fly in a big aeroplane. All they will call you will be deportees. America now maintains the largest system of immigrant internment or detention camps of any free nation on the planet. And it's shameful. It is absolutely an outrage that we force 11 million of our neighbors to work in the shadow economy, to live in the shadow economy. And I'm looking forward to this election, and I hope Hillary Clinton's able to pull us together and actually address this outrage. Let these people live freely and openly and raise their kids with the only hope and dreams they've ever had for their kids, which is they are Americans and will make our country better. And that's what I have to say about that.
This is an issue that you challenged the Obama administration on.
Yeah, well, hey, no administration is perfect. Look, there's lots of things every president has to balance. We're a great country, not because we're always flawless and we're always perfect and we always make the ideal choice. We're a great country because we are able to adjust, to make different choices, to make better choices. And that's to be enlightened enough to acknowledge when we've made mistakes. And I think it's a huge mistake to break apart families, to be going around kicking in doors and separating parents from their kids. During the campaign down in Texas, I sat with a family, and two of the family of five, parents were undocumented, work hard every day, very tough jobs. Beautiful home, spotless, clean, love their kids, 3 daughters, 2 of whom they brought with them as, toddlers. But the youngest daughter is born in this country, and she's now 13 years old and in 8th grade, and the same age as my son. And as I was listening to her, she was talking, she said, every day I go to school, and all day I'm scared to death that when I come home, my door will be kicked in and my family will be gone. We're better than that as a people. And so I'm hoping, and I have faith that we'll do what we've done in other generations, to resist, to reject, to repudiate the sort of xenophobic, racist appeals of Donald Trump, the latest incarnation of the know-nothings, and move forward as the generous and loving people that the longer arc of history says that we shall become.
Governor, your faith plays a large part in who you are as a person. Not only your heritage, your Irish American heritage, but also your Catholic faith. How has your Catholic faith shaped your views on immigration?
Yeah, in many ways. Actually, my Catholic faith has shaped my views on many, many things. Part of our class here at the Institute of Politics at the McCourt School of Public Policy. Did I get it right? At the Institute of Politics, I mean, part of the theme that we look at isn't only whether America is becoming more polarized or whether we're going to be coming together. It's also asking the question if the pillars of Catholic social justice teaching that I was taught by some holy men and women, Franciscan nuns, Jesuit priests, might inform that their language, that their 2,000-year history of service might inform this divided point in our country's history. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the belief that we share in the dignity of every person, the belief that we share in our own responsibility to advance the common good that each of us is a part of as Americans, and our understanding that at the beginning and the end of our days, we're all in this together. In other words, there's a unity to spirit and matter, and what we do in this lifetime does matter. And so those have always been my touchstones. There were times early on in my public service when I wasn't as clear about articulating that, or at least understanding it, as I've come to now.
At what point?
Oh, I don't know. When I was young and first running for office, I got lost in the weeds of, this is intricate policy and it's complicated, and let's come up with our 10, checkpoints on every issue and that sort of thing. But sometimes we tend to make things more complicated than they actually are. It's really all about values. And politics should be about principles that are based in those values. The dignity of every person, the common good we share, our essential unity as Americans and as human beings. And sometimes we complicate things by putting our finger to the wind or trying to figure out which way the public's rolling. I think we'd all be better off if we took some silent time in the morning and realized the important beliefs that unite us.
So our next song is a song about human dignity, I would say. Redemption song.
Can I say one other word about this song before we hit it?
This is your show, Governor. You can say as many words as you want.
In 1999, I ran for mayor of Baltimore, not because our city was doing well, but because we had become the most violent, addicted, and abandoned city in America. And in that campaign, there was never a single day when we spoke about public safety and improving public safety without also talking about our need to improve how we police the police, how we discipline the police, how we train the police, how we recruit the police. In our country, law enforcement has been so intertwined with a painful history of slavery and racial discrimination that you really can't talk about the one without the other. When I ran for mayor of Baltimore, Baltimore then is majority African American city. I then is now am white, and but what brought us together in that campaign, where by the way we won every single council district in the city, was that we weren't just talking about policing or public safety or drugs or reentry or all of those important policy issues. We were talking about justice. We were talking about justice and injustice, and about whether or not there was such a thing as a spare American in our city, or whether in fact we're all in this together. In other words, if you called for police service in a wealthy neighborhood, black or white, they always came, they always showed up, and they always got out of the car. But if you called for police service in the face of the open-air drug markets and the death that they were making national shows about us from, they hardly ever came. And if the police did come, they never got out of the car. So that was what our campaign was about. It was a song of freedom. Really, it was about justice. And this was the song that often blared out of the speakers of the car as we knocked on doors in West Baltimore and East Baltimore and everywhere around Baltimore. It was our anthem that long summer. and sang this with the Neville brothers at the inauguration. Oh, pirates, yes, there I die. Sold I to the merchant ship. Minutes after they took I from a bottomless pit. But my hands were made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? It's all I ever had. Redemption song. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our minds. Have no fear of atomic energy, 'cause none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand beside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. You have to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had. Redemption song. Emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. None but ourselves can free our mind. Have no fear of atomic energy, but none of them can stop the time. How long shall they kill our prophets while we stand beside and look? Some say it's just a part of it. You have to fulfill the book. Won't you help to sing these songs of freedom? 'Cause all I ever had. Redemption song. These songs of freedom. Redemption song. Bob Marley, ladies and gentlemen. Great song, very much unlike many other things that he has done. I mean, just a straight up, clear ballad.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And this was the thing, you know, Bob Marley was a musician, but Bob Marley was also a unifier. And he actually was able to bring people together in Jamaica at a pretty rough time in his nation's history. And obviously by choosing this song, you're harkening to that legacy. And so I wondered, you know, you have clearly Bob Marley as someone who has inspired you. What are other figures from American history or world history that you look back to when you were trying to figure out how to be a leader? Who was it that inspired you the most? And what moments do you remember kind of coming about and realizing these are the qualities in these people that I admire?
Frederick Douglass was somebody I had read about and was fascinated about as a boy. I read, at least my memory tells me I read, maybe I read a children's version of it, but I remember reading Narrative of the Life of a Slave when I was in 4th grade. And my parents would often take us down to the eastern shore of Maryland. Happiest days of my life were spent down there. And I remember as a boy asking my dad, did Frederick Douglass walk here? Did Frederick Douglass know this river? Was Frederick Douglass in this town? My imagination was really awakened by this guy. And he remains, I think, one of the great figures in American and world history, really. He said, if we have room for another motto, after we pass immigration reform and can return to a pluribus unum, and in God we trust, if there were another motto for America, I think Frederick Douglass wrote it when he said that we are one, our cause is one, and we must help each other if we are to succeed. I vote for that as a national motto. And so he's a guy who has always spoken to me.
And an amazing guy because, in the context of he fled slavery. And he's a guy who, by standing out and speaking out against this, is essentially letting everyone know where he is. And that's a huge threat that he could be taken back. And yet he for the purposes of humanity, he stands out and speaks in public at a time when that takes so much bravery. I mean, just so much.
There's a when he published Narrative of the Life of the Slave, in order to for his own safety, he had to get out of Dodge. Not Dodge. He had to get out of the United States. He traveled to Ireland, and actually traveled around Ireland and was, gave speeches over there, raised money for the abolition movement, and he saw Daniel O'Connell speak over there, the great emancipator of the Catholic emancipation movement in Ireland, and he would hold these big monster meetings. Dan O'Connell was a tremendous orator, and Douglass says in his own remembrances, he said, all the stuff I heard about O'Connell, I thought it was all hype. I said, but today I saw the man, and my goodness, what a man. But there was, I would love to have been a fly on the wall when those two had a conversation. But Douglass then came back. He did so many things. The recruitment of the African American regiments in the Civil War, and he continued to work even afterwards. There's a great little house. He never got to live in it, but it's on just south of Annapolis. It was built for him to retire, and he said, I'll be watching my grandkids play freely on the beach, and on the other side of the Chesapeake, I'll be looking into the place where I was born into slavery. If you ever paddled the Tuckahoe River, by the way, it looks probably just like it did in his time. You don't know what century you're in when you go down it. It's a beautiful place, but where it turns the hard right, it's right into, the former Bailey farm where Frederick Douglass grew up. Quite a man.
So the next song we picked out is called Ordinary Man.
Ordinary Man.
And this was, again, this is your choice. And it really fits in with all the other ones.
Yeah, this is a song that was actually, the James Gallup, the Gallup pollster guy, he said for all of the concerns that people have about nationalism and religion and ideology and all those other issues defined by borders, he said there is only one yearning now the whole world over, and that is for a job, a decent job with decent pay. We human beings have to work in order to be. We're the only species without full employment on the planet. And there's so much of this year was defined, I think, in the presidential contest by so many of our fellow citizens feeling like they are unseen by their leaders, not recognized, that the economy has become something callous, something focused only on the bottom lines of corporate ledgers, when the truth of the matter is, our economy isn't money, it's people. It's all of our people. And so this song, Ordinary Man, while it was, I think, written over in England or Ireland, it could as well have been written in Troy, Ohio, or in Newton, Iowa, or in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or any of those other places where the combination of changes of globalization and the loss of industrial jobs and an America that has gone on a bad detour away from our truer selves, where we realize the more our workers earn, the more they spend, the more our economy grows. So this is a song called by Peter Haynes, called An Ordinary Man. And so here we go. Am I the right key? Yeah. special, nothing grand. I've had to work for everything I own, and I never asked for a lot, and I was happy with what I got, enough to keep my family and my home. Now they say the times are hard, and they've handed me my card. They say there's not the work to go around, and when that whistle blows, these gates will finally close, and then they're going to shut this factory down. Then I tear it down. Then I tear it down. Well, I never missed a day, nor went on strike for better pay. For 20 years I served them best I could. Now with a handshake and a check seems so easy to forget. Loyalty through the bad times and the good. Now the owner says he's sad to see that things got bad, but the captains of the industry won't let him loose. He still smokes a cigar and he brands a brand new car, and still he'll take his family on a cruise. He'll never lose. He'll never lose. Oh, now it seems to me such a cruel irony. He's richer now than ever he was before, and now my check is spent, I can't afford the rent. There's one law for the rich, one for the poor. Every day I've tried to salvage some of my pride, to find some work that I might pay my way. Everywhere I go, the answer's always no. There's no work for anyone here today. No work today. No work today. And so condemned I stand, just an ordinary man, like 1,000 beside me in the queue. And I watch my darling wife try to make the best of life. God knows what the kids are going to do. Now that we're faced with this human waste, our generation cast aside. For as long as I live, I never will forgive. You've stripped me of my dignity and pride. You've stripped me bare. You've stripped me bare. People are angry, huh? Be angry too.
So during your campaign, there was a moment in Phoenix at the Netroots conference when the Black Lives Matter protesters kind of took over the show and really, really prevented you and Senator Sanders from being able to get your message out. What can we do? Kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, what can local governments do immediately to bring down the tension? Because since that moment, before that moment and since that moment, our summer, it was very, very charged, very racially charged. What's the low-hanging fruit that the local government can do to bring down tensions? And then what does the next president need to do? What message do they need to send?
You know, Hillary Clinton actually has a terrific, I think, a very good criminal justice reform policy and platform that she's advancing. And the reason I like it so much is I wrote much of it. For the first time ever, the Democratic Party's platform calls for repeal of the death penalty. Something we did in Maryland when we became the first state south of the Mason-Dixon line to repeal the death penalty. But when it comes to the issue that's at the forefront, all of the horrific shootings we've been seeing because of technology, and it's a good thing that all of us now know how to use our video cell phones. A lot more openness and a lot more transparency. But there is no institution of government that more urgently needs to maintain a position at the forefront of that raising of expectations on openness and transparency in policing, because of the way policing has been intertwined with racial injustice in our country. In our own city, we found a number of things that we could do that actually allowed us to forge and maintain a precious consensus. We put Baltimore on a path for the biggest reductions in violent crime of any city in America, any major city over a 10-year period of time. And much of it involved things that after I left fell by the wayside. Sometimes gradually, but then in the last few years, pretty precipitously. And a lot of them had to do with things like instituting a civilian review board, making sure they had their own independent detectives. We would do 100 reverse integrity stings a year, where we'd have undercover detectives call in bogus complaints on the corner, and we'd see how the police reacted. And most of them passed, but sometimes famously, and one instance comes to mind when a white police officer pulling up on a corner where no one matched the description of the bogus 911 call, instead put drugs in the pocket of an innocent black citizen on that corner. And we had to stand up and we had to say, look, this is what we've caught. Things like this give all the other police officers a bad name. But while it took a lot of short-term while we took a short-term political hit, the longer-term political benefit was it showed people we were actually on top of what we were doing. During my time as mayor of Baltimore from 2000 to 2007, yes, we had a heightened level of enforcement. There were more arrests, and we also closed down a lot of open-air drug markets in poor neighborhoods where neighbors thought for 20 years they had been abandoned. I was reelected with 88% of the vote, and most importantly, when it comes to the issue of police-involved shootings, we drove police-involved shootings down to 3 of their 4 lowest years in recorded history in our state, in our city. So what can we do as a country? The things that get watched are the things that get done. While every major city has to report the 7 major crimes, no city is required federally to report police issues of discourtesy, excessive force, or fatal involved police shootings, or non-fatal police involved shootings. What we know for sure is that we're seeing more of them. We're all seeing more of them. I saw a young African-American man in Charlotte who was from Baltimore. He was in school in Charlotte, and he said, Mayor, I never thought Charlotte would go up like that. And then he said, but then again, I never thought Baltimore would go up like that. This democracy stuff is very, very fragile. And we all need to do a better job of being open and transparent, not only about policing, but how we police the police. And a good starter, and this is in Hillary Clinton's plan, is requiring all cities and counties to report excessive force, shootings, discourtesy, and then we would know where are we doing things that work, and lift up those examples and replicate them. Many mayors are doing this amongst themselves, but there really should be a national strategy on this. And of course, there's a bunch of other things we need to do too, on sentencing. And in Maryland, we drove our incarceration rate down to a 20-year low. We reduced recidivism by from 50% down to 40%. We did a lot more on reentry. We banned the box. We repealed the death penalty. But this work is never done. I mean, it's silly to think that in any day or any month it's going to be done, but we've got to stay on it, and we've got to acknowledge those areas where we're falling short. And anyway, that's what I think.
I think this would be a good time to get questions from the audience.
Yeah.
And if anyone's brave enough to walk up to the stage and ask a
No
question.
microphone right here. Are any questions?
Or we'll just keep playing.
The first one is always the most difficult one.
Mo won't be happy unless you ask a question. Come on. Well, he's happy. He'll be happier if you ask questions. Pull that microphone down. Don't be afraid of it. Just lower it. Talk through it like it's a toilet paper roll.
Hello.
Please
Okay.
introduce
Here you
yourself,
go.
bro.
Oh my God. I'm Alexis.
That's what they told me in the band.
Oh my God. I'm Alexis. I'm a junior in the college from Phoenix, Arizona. You just mentioned. Okay. I wasn't.
What would you like to sing?
Take your request.
No, I have to go to church choir practice after this, so I'm just gonna save my voice. Okay, so I didn't have a lot of time to formulate my question very well, but I guess I'm wondering, like, in line with like the music industry today and kind of the role that what duty, I guess, like artists and people in power have, or people with like these high statuses have to bring light to these issues, because we have this outrage, I guess, against people like Colin Kaepernick who just, take a knee during the national anthem. So it seems to me like people are being more critical and skeptical of people who are using the like loud voices they have to bring light to certain issues. And I'm wondering what you guys think about the duty, and two, how it's perceived today versus maybe it was in past decades or generations.
We were originally going to do something about protest music, which is it's different than these songs, but all these songs come from some kind of a social movement, and ultimately some kind of suffering gives birth to these songs. Pain gives birth to these songs. And when I looked at the corpus of American protest music, it got a little weird in the 80s, like after punk rock and American hardcore music, and then the birth of rap music. When we talk about the Gulf War, and we talk about more recently, it's just not the same as what it was. Like protest music during the Vietnam era and the Civil Rights era, it was mainstream. It was mainstream, and it feels like sometime around the 80s it went underground. And so, as far as I'm expecting a wave of social movement songs they're coming. I think because of the Black Lives Matter, I think that is one of the first real movements that we've seen in this nation in a while. That is a true from the ground up movement. And I think there's going to be some incredible music to express the pain and the suffering and the frustration that goes along with that. As far as Colin Kaepernick or any artist who takes a stand, I think we can tell when that's coming from a real place. Some people, you're a musician or you're a celebrity and you get a whim or a passion and you speak out about something, and we can kind of tell when that's kind of a whim or phony. But when it comes from someone's true life experience and their real suffering, I think it's very legitimate. But for me as a musician, it's a fine line.
Can I say a word of defense on behalf of the Star Spangled Banner? When the British Army and Navy showed up in Baltimore on September 11, 1813, I think actually, was it 1814? The federal government had been burned to the ground, and everybody there saw the flames to the south. When those folks came together, it was one of the most integrated defenses that the nation had ever had. We were hanging by a thread, and black and white people. 1 out of 5 of the defenders of Baltimore were black. Baltimore had the largest population of free black citizens of any city on the East Coast. And half of the defenders of Baltimore were immigrants, were the sons and daughters of immigrants. So that's the part of the story, notwithstanding the fact that, yes, George Washington had slaves, and Thomas Jefferson, and many of the founders, and we should never forget that, and we need to learn from that. But at the same time, the story of Baltimore was very much a very parochial sort of patriotism where neighbors were willing to put themselves on the line for their neighbors, even in the face of a shock and awe attack that no one thought they would be able to survive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Round of applause for us. Hello, sir. Please introduce yourself to us.
Hello, my name is Dalton. I'm a 6th grader. I have a question. How do you feel about Colin Kaepernick and the other people who are protesting about the Black Lives Matter movement?
So I'm trying to take a different angle on the Colin Kaepernick thing. I thought I just answered that question. No, I think that we all have, look, we all need to be speaking up. They're two separate issues. First of all, I said what I said just there on the Star Spangled Banner and the defense of the Star Spangled Banner. But on the other issue of the way our country undervalues, either tacitly, unconsciously, and sometimes consciously, the value of American lives of color, black lives, I think that that's something all of us should speak out about. When I was newly elected mayor and went down to Annapolis to ask for a big investment in drug treatment and some changes in state law so that we could do what needed to be done to restore order in our city. Look, I got a lot of shrug of shoulders like, hey, come on, man, don't rock the boat. The chief judge of the state even said we should be praising the judiciary instead of being critical. And I said to the men and women, black and white, from all over the state, I doubt very seriously that we would all be shrugging our shoulders if the 350 men murdered in Baltimore last year were young and poor and white instead of young and poor and black. So all of us have to tend to this healing, and all of us have to make it better.
It comes down to human dignity. Every human being deserves to be treated with respect, no matter where they come from, no matter how much money they have. And everyone needs to be given the opportunity to succeed in life. And I think the Black Lives Matter movement has been, it's something that's been smoldering for many years in this country.
I would say that, like, as a historian, it's always important to remember that there are periods in our history that we've been intolerant, and periods where we've been more tolerant. And, I remember I was at a cigar shop in Murfreesboro, smoking a cigar with an old-time guy. He'd been a preacher up in the Appalachian Mountains for a long time. The guy had sacrificed, he lived sacrifice in his life. And we had a controversy in Murfreesboro about a mosque being built. And, a lot of people were mad about that. And he said, what a lot of people don't remember is if they'll shut your mosque down today, they'll shut your church down tomorrow. And so I think when we look at things like this, he has a First Amendment right to say these things. Now, we don't have to like it, but I think, if we silence him today, well, then who gets silenced tomorrow? And so we always have to think, we don't have to agree with somebody, but historically, it's always been a bad idea when we've turned against someone and silenced them just because we don't like what they're saying. If they don't like what's going on, let's prove to them that the other side is right. Let's win with words and not with silence.
Great question, thank you. I didn't know they had 6th grade at Georgetown. This place is amazing. I'm just going to send my kids here.
He's very precocious. He also speaks Russian fluently. He's on the fast track to the School of Foreign Service.
Sorry, I lost my voice, so my apologies. But I had a question about Colin Kaepernick.
Again?
Governor O'Malley, what role has music played in your political career and how you campaigned?
Yeah, well, as I said earlier, some people said I didn't use enough music when I campaigned. What role did music play in my campaign? I don't know. Look, music's a part of my life, so I hope I'm always able to play music. And every morning, many mornings, I would turn on Luca Bloom on my iPad and YouTube, Luca Bloom. And I'd listen to Heartman as a way to get centered in the morning for whatever the day held in that offering that was that uphill presidential campaign. But I think what I found in the city of Baltimore was that music is a great leveler in a way. Music is It is a way to bring people together. I had so many kids when I would tour elementary schools probably twice a week, and I had so many kids that would come up to me and go in the hallway, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, I play the clarinet," or "Mr. Mayor, I play the saxophone." And I said, "That's good. Keep playing the saxophone. Keep playing the clarinet. Music's all that keeps us here." So, for the world, human beings, as life goes on, tend to construct walls and things to divide us. The beauty of music is that there's no division in those notes. I mean, it's accessible. It's open to everyone. So that's how I've used it. Now in Iowa, after the talk, oftentimes miraculously, guitars would appear out of the woodworks or fall from the rafters, and so we bang out a song here or there. I don't know that I ever made a conscious effort to use it sort of thing. I mean, it's there, and it's part of who I am. It's part of it holds a lot of us together. But I don't know. Maybe next time around I should use it more.
Thank you, sir.
One more song?
Yeah.
We got one more question here.
One more question?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a tough one.
He's a Patriots fan, so maybe he won't ask a question about
About the Ravens? No. So a lot of the protest music and social justice music of the last 20 years and more has been in hip hop and rap. And so that being the case, I was just wondering when your first rap album will be, Governor O'Malley.
I'm open.
Did you see us recording it earlier?
No, I missed that part.
Okay, good, because we're not.
Will I Am is a friend of mine, so maybe we can pull off a mashup or something.
All right.
I'll tweet out that picture. Ben, remind me to send out the Will I Am picture after this. Or not.
Well, if you search out Governor O'Malley, Scare Away the Dark, you'll see some great performances of the governor doing this during his campaign. This is a great song. I have to admit, I'm ignorant to this song and the band that wrote the song, but it's quickly become a favorite of mine.
Favorite of mine, too. I think this song is called Scare Away the Dark by Michael Rosenberg and Passenger. And a lot of our conversations at the Institute of Politics at the McCourt School of Public Policy have been about issues of justice and injustice, whether it's responsible gun safety legislation that we're going to be talking about on Monday, or whether we were talking about criminal justice and racial injustice last week, or whatever it might be. We talked about climate change. Wouldn't it have been nice in the presidential debates if there had been one question about climate change? But all of these things, I mean, what I found, one of the more uplifting and one of the more hopeful and optimistic things I found about campaigning and running for president was I got to spend time on a lot of college campuses and talking to a lot of young people. And if you want to know where a nation's headed, talk to our young people under 25. Because you'll rarely find among them people that want to bash gay couples or their kids or new American immigrants or who want to deny climate change. And what I find refreshing about young Americans is that they're very truthful about the challenges we face, the size of those challenges, but they're not intimidated. They're not fearful. They're truthful, and they wish that we'd all kind of leave our fears behind. If we all do what we're supposed to do as individuals, and we all take more life-giving actions together, it's amazing the tidal wave of change that can bring about. And so this song is by Michael Rosenberg, Scare Away the Dark. I want to teach you something here. The chorus goes, so sing at the top of your voice, love without fear in your heart tonight, and feel like you still have a choice. If we all light up, we can scare away the dark. But then there's a part at the end that has no words. It simply goes, whoa, whoa, Anybody need me to repeat those lyrics? All right, so here we go, Georgetown. 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's... Sing at the top of your voice, love without fear in your heart, and feel like you still have a choice. If we all line up, we can scare away the dark. Spend our weekdays away, spend our weekends in bed, drink ourselves stupid and work till we're dead. And it's all just because that's what Mom and Dad said we should do. We should run through the forest, we should dance in the streams, we should sing, we should laugh, we should love, we should dream, we should stare at the stars, not just at the screens. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what it means to sing? Sing at the top of your voice. Oh, love, without fear in your heart. Good, and feel like you still have a choice. If we all line up, we can scare away the dark. We wish we were younger and thinner and thinner. We wish we weren't losers and liars and quitters. We want something more, not just nasty and bitter. We want something real, not just hashtag and Twitter. It's the meaning of life, and it streams live on YouTube. And I bet Gangnam Style still gets more views. We're scared of swimming and flying and shooters, and we're all slowly dying in front of computers. So sing at the top of your voice, love without fear in your heart, love without fear in your heart, and feel like you still got a choice. Feel like you still have a choice. If we all line up, we can scare away the dark. There's the wobos at no. Come on, you can do better than that, Georgetown. I know, no shake can you see. Oh, by the dawn's early light. One more time, pretend you're not Catholic. Real prayerful like for the last one. So sing at the top of your voice. Love without fear in your heart, and feel like you still have a choice. If we all light up, we can scare away the dark. Folks, the choice before us is between freedom and fascism. I vote for Hillary Clinton. Let's all scare away the dark. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you to Georgetown and Samoa Lakey and the Institute for politics and public service, and to you guys for making it out. Have a great night.
Thank you so much.